All right, I have joining me in the studio to discuss this oil issue. Well, Victor Udoh is an oil expert, am I right?
Oil and gas expert at the Public Affairs Committee.
Good, Public Affairs Committee. I'm glad to have you join me, Victor Udoh. Now let's look at this issue, the reforms that the government is doing. Just give me a moment. Nigeria's oil output has been averaging, I gather, 1.4 million barrels per day for some months. What more, really, can the country do to consolidate what is happening?
Number one, we look at the month-on-month reality of November and December, that we had a 14,000 shortfall from what we had in November.
Last year,
though both figures were slightly fall off from the original OPEC quota allocation, which is about 1.5 outside condescent. We know that with condescent, sometimes we go as much as 1.8.
And by condescent, you mean?
Condensate are those gaseous contents that are not real crude, and sometimes it makes us go up to 1.8.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that 2026 budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is pegged at 1.84 per barrel, barrels per day. OPEC quota for us is 1.5 million barrels per day. So it becomes like Nigeria has been ambitious in exceeding its OPEC quota. If you look at the antecedent or the history of the person that has been brought as in charge of the upstream of our petroleum sector, you will know that right from the days of NNPC, she has always been an ambitious person in terms of planning. And that gives us a lot of confidence to believe that with the right policy framework, with the right predictability, regulations, we can have more direct foreign investment. The intent to reallocate or sell wells are very beautiful. The intent to reactivate the exploration in Ogoni axis that has been silent in a very long time is very beautiful. But I want to take us on a simple joining of cause and effects with intervening and extraneous variable as relating to oil and gas in Nigeria. Naturally, policies, willpower, good decisions are the cause. The intended effect is to have an improved output, to boost output to a targeted ratio. But before this transition of cause and effect occur, there is always intervenings and extraneous variable. In Nigeria today, as it has always been, the intervening variables could be what happens within the environment of the Niger Delta.
Now you're taking me straight to the next question.
The extraneous variable could be how effective were the security guarantees that what was explored from upstream could actually be transported to either at the level of midstream, downstream processing, or directly for export purpose. The measurement of outputs is not as easy or as straight line jacketed as the confidence and the strategy in policy. That is why I said if I draw a small line of cause and effect evaluation, I will always not ignore the intervening and the extraneous variable in the oil and gas sector of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Let me ask you this. Beyond what I just read, the reforms, ambitious they may sound, you could say, How much more must be done in the Niger Delta? You mentioned Niger Delta now. Of course, that's the cash cow. To meet OPEC's quota rather, and then enough at the same time for local refineries.
I would rather you had put it that to meet OPEC quota and to meet our budgetary targets. OPEC quota is 1.5. Our budgetary target for 2026 is 1.84 million barrels per day. The president pegged his budget at that level. So in meeting this, what must be done more in the Niger Delta are very straight. Number one, there is a non-conventional approach to securing our pipelines that has worked in the last 2 years thereabout, what you refer to as pipeline surveillance. Then there is another aspect of the people's engagement, evident in what the president did at the Ogoni axis. There is an intention to recommend or reactivate exploration in Ogoni. Instead of putting more policies, more structure, more military on ground, the president decided to give the Ogoni people a university. The president decided to have more consultations with the Ogoni people. Then the private sector-driven surveillance job decided to engage more people, decided to have more people on the table of conversations, and that gives a softening. So if you ask me directly, I will say two things. Number one, enhance the surveillance structure of the Niger Delta. Number two, allow the PIA that guarantees 3% to the host communities flow unhindered. Then within the surveillance structure, I have this to say. There was a deliberate statement from the government last year, around November, December, that said that VIP protection should be taken away from the police and given to civil defense.
Oh, okay.
And given to civil defense. And we all know that the original mandate of the civil defense is to protect critical national infrastructure, to which oil and gas is primary. It therefore means that if this decision has been taken, the bulk of the responsibility of protecting oil and gas infrastructure falls more on the shoulder of the private companies. Then what must the private companies do to consolidate the trust they've built in the Niger Delta, to establish a predictability environment and guarantee that bold policy interests of the government can be transmitted into actual reality that will put us at a situation where policy-driven decisions on oil and gas can be equal to outputs.
I wish I had the time to take you up on that, what the private companies must do. But you have answered my last question really on how relevant is surveillance security and the reforms to boost oil output, even before I had to ask it.
But if I must add my statement to that,
that's just the last.
If I was going to ask a statement, I think surveillance companies have a mandate.
We're running out of time.
Thank you very much.
We just leave it there. Victor Udoh, thank you so much, public analyst and of course oil expert. Thank you for being here on Newsnight.